Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ash, and as an RPG developer, Bakin DLC Ambassador, it's time to show you yet another brand new RPG developer Bakin DLC. This time, we're going to go to Game Gallery and check out the Wooden Fort DLC. The Wooden Fort DLC comes with everything you need to springboard into a brand new Bakin project, or perhaps just take these assets and add them to your own. Wooden Fort. We're going to go ahead and click OK on the About Restricted Editing Mode disclaimer. Don't worry about that. What do you think of when you think of wooden forts? You probably think of something that looks a bit like this. But the Wooden Fort is a great way to just create an entire legacy dungeon for your characters to go through in your JRPG or your Souls-like game. When I see this, I think of the mini dungeons, the micro dungeons that are littered all over the overland in the base game of games like Elden Ring. Add a little bit of terrain to this, a little bit of stone flooring and some enemies, and voila, you've got an awesome distraction or objectives for your players to encounter. So this just does come with the one map, but what's important here is not the included map. That's just for convenience's sake. That's just to show you how you could possibly use these assets in one of an infinite number of ways. And we'll pepper a map with a few of our own assets just to kind of explore the dungeoneering aspect of this, the level building aspect. And of course, it doesn't have to be a dungeon. You can also just make like a town, a thriving NPC area. But we will test play this first. This comes with a huge disclaimer right here on the title screen. Content package developed for creating wooden forts that can be useful in various types of projects. All modular pieces can be fitted perfectly if you use the snap function activated in the map editor. You will find some copies of objects with the name mirror. These objects are not necessarily mandatory in your project. The purpose of these objects is to correct the UV mapping of some fittings that you make and that are not compatible by default. Due to small tests, and if you notice that a specific fitting does not have the correct textures, change the modular piece for the mirror version and rotate it to find the correct position. This actually does not show me the entirety of the message, but we'll go ahead and click New Game. And here we are, the Wooden Fort. Why is it? Oh, that's not rain. Those are arrows being fired by the crossbows. We can go right into the Wooden Fort, or we can step on these Bakin symbols. Ow. Well, that's where we'd have to stand to get hit by the arrow. I see. What a violent use of the Bakin tile. Run right into the fort. Oh, the doors closed behind us, and we got a bit of a things are about to happen sound effect. We cannot climb the ladder. And my darling Marie character here, she only jumps just a little bit, so I don't think we can jump up the ladder, can we? But that's quite all right. You can definitely event it to where you can get up this ladder and traverse the upper pathways of this fort. We've got a room here. We've got a ramp that allows us access to the upper portion. You could fight through just an entire battalion of monsters or soldiers in this fort. We've made our way to the chest. What happens when we open it? We got 50G. That's the 50G necessary to purchase this DLC. So just a really quick look at that map. But I'm going to show you how easy it is to grab another tile, like the snow-covered tile. Grab the fill bucket and just completely fill the floor. There we go. Now we have a fort out in the snow, and this really changes the feel. We can do an Ice World preset, Ice World night, Ice World daytime. It's well lit, but it really gives off like Final Fantasy Tactics vibes almost. You'll notice there is an outline that goes all the way around these assets. These materials is actually what the outline is doing. It's part of the material properties. And we can take and actually change that outline. We can turn it off if you'd like. You can go to Resources. Under 3D stamps, go directly to Materials, and in the Wooden Fort folder that will be created for your project when you import these assets, you can just turn off the outlines by going over here to the right side after selecting the outline, or selecting the material, and just toggling it right off. You can see in the preview exactly what it is that we're doing. When we turn that on or off, the outline goes away. You can also change the size and color of the outline if you'd like. So it does kind of give it a bit of a different look without outlines on any part of the map whatsoever. I think that using the outlines was part of a style that was kind of popular with some games during the PS2 and PS3 era, maybe more so PS3. I do remember seeing outlines on the RPGs from that time. But you can access the different individual pieces of what goes on in this fort by going into the Objects tab. We've got walls, we've got towers. We have 15 different things under tower. We have details, 9 entries under details. We have 15 entries under props, and that includes the spikes and the gates and the arrows and the ladders. And yes, as stated by the developer, there are a lot of mirrored materials. So You can kind of think of this as being fluff, but it is really handy to have the mirrored version of these materials so that you have, it's like a staircase that's going up and to the right, well, or a ramp rather. This ramp goes up and to the left. So you might really want a left side ramp instead of a right side ramp and so on. There are 3 prefabs. One is a bunch of spikes poking out. Another is a few more spikes poking out. And then a third one is a bunch of arrows embedded in the ground. We have different meshes. Really cool that this particular pack just comes with the meshes by themselves, 13 of them. That is interesting because you can take and texture them with whatever you'd like. And then we have general, wooden fort all textures, and wooden fort empty cube. Stuff that you don't necessarily have to mess with, but it could come in handy. And you can take these and just place them down using the snap function as instructed, which is the default setting for your map editor. All this stuff will go down beautifully. You can put this stuff down and change the scale of it if you'd like. You can use the random pen if you'd like to get much less uniform sizes of the various spikes. I've got an event there with Millie. I'm going to go ahead and just paste a whole bunch of her just to populate this place a little bit. Copy and paste the treasure chest. Actually change the terrain here. I'd like to really change the context of this now. Let's do the grassy, or path over grass rather. Let's go ahead and fill that in so it's everywhere. And then we'll grab this water tile. We'll fill it in on one side. We'll select multiple areas outside here of the fort, and we will fill them with grass. There we go. This particular fort sits on the edge of a stream or perhaps a river. It's taken on a completely new life. We'll get rid of the crossbows just to make it seem less hostile. I guess the second step to making it less hostile would be to get rid of all these spike traps out front. So I'm inspired by this set. What I would probably tend to do if I were using this to world build is I would make a Soulsborne-like level wherein you could do this even if you're not making that kind of a game. You can do this if you're making a JRPG, easy peasy. You just make it to where your save point or your healing point or whatever is right outside the gate here, and then you can start from this position. Then you can walk inside, and then you'd have like a maze you could go through with traps and enemies, and at some point you'd kind of circle back around close to this gate, and you'd have like a second door that you could only unlock from this side. And now you can access the beginning of the level very easily. So you go back out, you save, you heal up or whatever, you go back in, and now you can just go straight to this gate that you've unlocked rather than having to go all the way around the outer part of the level to get back to where you were. So in this case, you progressively unlock bits and pieces of the dungeon while also providing yourself faster, easier access to the end of the dungeon where the boss might be. Doesn't mean that it's devoid of challenge at that point. You can definitely put mobs to speckle them in. If your RPG uses random battles, you can still have that in there. It's not going to change that at all. But it will be a lot less of it as a sort of incentive to do well and unlock the different doors going back. I do really like this example of the wooden fort that's provided, and I really like the modular aspect. Something that's not really made obvious is that a lot of these ropes that you see are not part of the models that they're on. They are literally separate. Just kidding. As you can see, I am not very good at making maps myself, but I would gladly sponsor this DLC to somebody who was good at making maps so that I could commission them to make maps for my game. And that's kind of what it's all about for me. Having an asset pack that I can say, yes, I would definitely use this for my game. Now I have decided to take this map and elevate it above a poisoned swamp, give it a little bit of 3D real estate, vertical real estate rather. Seems a bit more immersive to me now. And instead of filling the terrain with this pathing, I can go ahead and just set it down in some places. Maybe have it unfinished, have it sort of indicate where it would have been before whatever calamitous event happened here happened. Cantlin vibes from Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest. Literally Dragon Quest. Anyone? That's kind of the long and short of the Wooden Forts DLC. I hope you look forward to its release, and I hope that you enjoyed this presentation of it. If you did, please comment so down below. Thank you very much for watching, and a huge thank you to SmileBoom for giving me the opportunity to show you this DLC early. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye for now.